Hey, everybody, welcome to Downballot Roundup in partnership with Leave No Dem Behind, where I introduce you to Democratic candidates running in local elections throughout the country. I'm Bryan Randolph, and I'm here today with Taylor Culliver, who is running for the South Carolina State Senate in the 8th District. Hello, Taylor. It is great to have you. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for what you're doing to try and help spread awareness of all the down ballot races that are super important for this election.
Really, very, very important. Like, so important. We're finally time for the Democrats to start taking over these down ballot positions. So
Yeah.
yeah, very exciting. Well, why don't we start out by telling me a little bit about you?
Yeah. I'm Taylor Culliver. I grew up in South Alabama, but I'm a proud South Carolinian today. I graduated from high school and went to college at the University of Pennsylvania. That's where I met my incredible wife. And we got our, fancy smancy little Ivy League degrees. And I went up to New York for a while to work for Forbes magazine and a few other companies. I have a background in marketing and media. I had an incredible experience throughout college, and as I was growing up, even from the early days back home, it's always been about having people who believed in me, having people who supported me, and having the resources and the opportunity and the freedom to do the things that I wanted to do and to chase my dreams in the ways that I wanted to. And that's why it's been so critical for me to stay and get even more politically engaged, right? We're at a critical time in our democracy, not only nationally, but at the state level as well. And there is a real fight, I think, happening in South Carolina in particular for the heart of our democracy and the heart of legislation and good governance that makes people's lives better and doesn't edge towards the extremes either one way or the other. So, I'm really proud to be running for office. My wife and I moved down to South Carolina 6 years ago. She got a job at Michelin after she got her MBA, and since we've been here, it has felt extremely right. It's felt like this was the place that we were supposed to grow our careers and our family. And there's so much potential in Greenville County that I'm just happy to be a part of pouring into that and helping to build up our community.
Excellent. Can you tell me a little bit about the 8th District?
Yeah, so this is one of the fastest growing districts throughout the state. Greenville County is expected to add another 200,000 more people by 2040. That's coming after several years of pretty intense growth, and so it's one of the fastest growing. It's majority women. It's generally a little bit higher educated than the average across the state. And like I said, there's so much potential in the 8th district, and so many people who are ready for change and ready to see something different. Ross Turner, my opponent, has been in office for 12 years. He's never had a general election challenger. And so for 12 years, the people of District 8 haven't really had a choice on the ballot. And finally, they're going to have a choice. And I'm just trying to make it really clear to them what the choice actually is, right? And it's a guy who's stepping up to support the moderate kind of policies and the pragmatism that I think the majority of the people in our district are actually aligned with. And when you look at Ross Turner's record, he's voted for things like the 6-week abortion ban, extreme gun laws that make our schools and our grocery stores and our communities less safe. He voted to send public dollars to private schools through school vouchers. He hasn't supported the expansion of Medicaid in our state. All of these policies we know have adverse effects on the well-being of our community, and I think the voters of Senate 8 deserve a choice, right? I think my daughter, we have a 2-year-old daughter. I think she deserves someone who's fighting for her future, and I really do believe that voters of Senate 8 are aligned with a more pragmatic and moderate way forward that benefits all of our families and community. So that's what I'm fighting for.
Excellent. And I have to point out, I've seen pictures of his daughter. She may be the most photogenic child I have ever seen in my life. That is an adorable child. Oh my God.
Thank
If
you.
nothing else, take a moment here, people watching, and go check out his daughter. Because don't, I mean, go look at she's adorable.
Yeah,
Um,
she's cute.
so I've heard a little bit here, but what would you say as you've been going around and meeting with these people? What do you think is like kind of number one issue that's really important, and particularly one that maybe you and your opponent differ on?
Yeah, that's a good question. I could name infrastructure, right? We just had an incredible storm pass through
Mhm.
Greenville, Hurricane Helene, that has really kind of left a path of devastation across the county and has, I think, exposed some gaps in our infrastructure. And I think generally when I go around and talk to people, the issues that they're raising are all about how this community thrives into the future, right? And so I wish I could tell you that there was one issue in particular. I think the growth across both Republican and Democrat, Independent, wherever you fall, the growth of the county and how we continue to invest in our infrastructure is incredibly important to people. I think making housing, healthcare, and childcare more affordable and attainable for people and giving access, right, is incredibly important for folks. And then you have the ones like reproductive freedom, public education, gun safety, and economic opportunity. There's not one issue, unfortunately. And, like they're all
Yeah.
connected. They're all kind of interwoven. And what I do know is that and I think, we may talk about this a little bit, but when I get into office, I'm going to be entering a legislature that is majority Republican, right? They have a supermajority in the House. They're on the edge of a supermajority in the Senate. And so a lot of my work will be how do I approach that defensive state in a way that fights for like tooth and nail for everything that our constituents want. And unfortunately, we have a Republican legislature that doesn't want to make the necessary investments in our community and doesn't want to pass laws that would benefit the majority of the folks in our community. So, overall, I think what I hear from people most is just the extremism has gone a little bit too far. And if we don't start pulling back towards the center and having folks who can compromise, that's going to create some real issues down the road.
So I think that, South Carolina is kind of notoriously deep red, deeply conservative, let's say,
Hmm.
territory, and you know, deeper than North Carolina, different from Alabama. It's kind of its own animal, and I'm hearing, if I understand, there's been kind of a lot of growth, probably a lot of maybe a different group of people that are kind of emerging in your district specifically. Does that feel
Yeah.
about right?
Between 2016 and 2020, every precinct in our district shifted left.
Okay.
Like the demographics are changing. The people who are coming in to get really, good jobs that, thankfully, the leaders of our state have continued to attract good jobs. And that's something that I'll pat them on the back for, right? Like if we could do more to make sure that the public education system in our state was preparing folks for those good jobs who live here, I think that would be great. But yeah, I mean, there's been an influx of people. It's shifting the demographics and the dynamics of the county and of the district. And I think you got to dig a little deeper into the numbers, which we've done to really see where the opportunities are. And I'll tell you, I wouldn't be running if I didn't feel like I had a shot,
Of
right?
course.
Because I'm busy and I got a 2 year old and I'm
Yeah.
trying to do all these things, and so I made this investment because I know that we're on the cusp of doing something pretty incredible here, and we're seeing across the county, both or across the upstate, both Spartanburg County and Greenville County, more Democrats run in races than there have been in history, and so we have a slate of Democratic candidates who are showing up to fight for the things that we feel our community cares about. And I think we're going to surprise a lot of people on November 5th, and so I think we have reasons to be really optimistic.
So let's say you win the election, you get in there. What How do you handle a majority? If what are, with some of your policy goals, how do you handle a Republican majority? As far as getting pieces of legislation forward. Um,
Yeah, the name of the game is all about building trust and relationships, right? Like I don't care whether you're going to the state legislature or you're working in whatever career you're in, or you're trying to manage your family. Like it's all about trust and relationships, and a big part of my first several months in office is going to be learning the system and learning how to build trust and relationships in ways that allow us to reach across the aisle and find common ground, and not ceding the things that I really believe in, right? And the things that I know my constituents would want me to fight for. And so much of politics has become this like either or, we're just kind of at the edges, and there's so much room in the middle, to make a lot of headway, and that's where the opportunity is. So I'm gonna work from there, and do all that I can to make sure that our constituents are well represented, and that they have somebody in office who will listen to them. Like more than anything, I think the baseline of what a representative should be able to offer is someone who will listen. And then take those opinions into the work that they do at the state house. And I think for too long, folks in our district have not had a representative who's willing to listen, even to things that he doesn't like agree with. And that's just, like I said, the baseline of being a good representative should be listening to your constituents and taking those opinions and feelings and the ways in which the things that you're doing affect their families, right? Like this has real impact on our families. So those are the things that I think about. It's less about each individual policy and more about how do we show up and work together on behalf of the people of our state. You know, if we can keep that at the forefront, we're going to be in good shape.
So I have one last question, and we've a very short time, but this is my favorite question. I call it my softball question. I would like to know what about your district makes it special to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's just like the district is huge, right? And so it stretches from Greenville all the way down to Fountain Inn, with Malden and Simpsonville in between. And each of these kind of municipalities has their own identity, right? And their own flavor and the ways in which they attract people to show up and live there and work and grow their families. And so I don't know, there's just a lot of it makes me smile. I love taking my daughter to Legacy Park and then going down to Fountain Inn and walking down Main Street and visiting the shops and eating at the local restaurants and then popping over to Bridgeway Station because there's so much activity happening there. And, when I talk about the opportunity and the potential of Greenville County, it's just flourishing, right? Like it's thriving, and I think it's just critical that everybody gets to take part in that, and everybody like feels like they have the same rights and opportunities and freedom to enjoy Greenville County in the ways that we all want to. And so, yeah, it's just the variation, the variety, and I think we have small town charm. Even though we're rapidly growing into a major kind of municipality across the upstate, so yeah.
All right. Taylor Culliver is running for the South Carolina State Senate to represent District 8. Thank you so much for being here and best of luck. I really hope you take this.
Yeah, thank you. We can win. So let's get out the vote. I know you might not have time to keep this in, but early voting starts October 21st, and make sure that you show up by November 5th to cast your vote. This is the first time in 12 years we have a choice on the ballot for this race, and we can win if we show up. So thank you.
GOTV is important. All right.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Taylor.